Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wild Darkness. Today we are going to talk all about rooms. Rooms in the Wild Darkness are basically unique structures surrounded by walls that can be found in dungeons or even on the surface. I'm not sure if I listed down all of them, so if I miss anything, just leave a comment down below and I will get back to you. So first off, we have the Artisan's Workshop. The Artisan's Workshop will allow you to upgrade a single piece of your equipment. However, it will only work on common equipment and will not work on rare equipment and artifact level equipment. To use the workshop, you must have the Artisan's Handbook. You can find the handbook on the same floor as where you find the Artisan's Workshop. It can be from a mob drop, it can be from digging up a suspicious pile of dirt, or it could be inside a chest. Now, what does the Artisan's Workshop do? It will upgrade your equipment by a suffix of +1 to +3, and it will also give it a random enchantment. Next up, we have the Altar of God and the Deep Well. The Altar of God and the Deep Well will both require you to sacrifice a piece of your equipment in exchange for a random item. I'm not 100% sure on how it works, but from testing them about 10 times, I came to the conclusion that the Altar of God and the Deep Well will return to you an item of equal value as the one you dropped. Because these rooms usually return items of equal or higher value, I highly suggest sacrificing a piece of high-tier equipment you don't use, since it might give you back something much more useful. Next up, we have the Demon Statue. The Demon Statue can be used a total of 4 times, and each time you use it, it will summon a wave of enemies that are stronger than the previous wave. In the first wave, it will spawn a single skeleton. In the second wave, it will spawn a grave mummy and 2 giant rats. In the third wave, it will spawn 3 skeleton mages, and in the last wave, a mini boss demon will spawn. After clearing each wave, items will be rewarded to the player, and the higher the wave, the better the quality of the items. Some things to take note of: if you start the wave, the doors will lock behind you. This will mean that you can only leave the room after you clear that wave. And since the demon statue is not a boss room, omnibus shadows and cursed shadows can still spawn inside while you're fighting the enemies, which can make the situation even more difficult. Next up, we have the graveyard. The graveyard is a room filled with small graves and occasionally a big grave. Digging up a small grave will either yield a random loot item or spawn a ghost that can freeze you with its attacks. Digging up the big grave will spawn a king ghost, and additionally, for every small grave that you have not dug up, a small ghost will also spawn. I highly recommend digging up each of the small graves first before triggering the big grave, otherwise you risk being frozen in place from being attacked by multiple ghosts whose attacks can freeze you. The next few rooms are pretty straightforward, but I'll just mention it for the sake of it being here. So next up, we have the Battle Scarecrow and the Hall of Battles. The Battle Scarecrow and the Hall of Battles will allow you to increase your mastery in a skill by 1. The masteries it can be used on is predetermined and random. For the Magic Sphere, it works like a spellbook and will allow you to increase one of your spells by 1 level. The sphere may contain 1 to 3 random spells. Next up, the Mirror of Knowledge. The Mirror of Knowledge works as an identification scroll. It can identify one of your unknown items. Moving on, we have the Wild Spring. The Wild Spring has 3 functions. You can drink from it, you can store it in a bottle, or you can throw a potion into it. If you choose to drink or store it in a bottle, you may get the following effects: drinkable water, health potion, recovery potion, energy potion, purification potion, and holy water. I'm not 100% sure about the percentages, but I collected 100 bottles and this is the percentages I've got. As for what happens if you throw a potion into the Wild Spring, I have not found a use yet. It just makes the Wild Spring unusable. Yeah. For number 9 on our list, we have the Magic Anvil. The Magic Anvil will allow you to craft any piece of equipment you have unlocked for free. However, the tier of the item it can craft is restricted by the level of the Ruins of Light you have repaired. At Ruin of Light 5, you can craft up to tier 4.5 items. At Ruin of Light 4, you can craft tier 3.5 items, and so on and so forth. Next is the Cleansing Fountain, the Fountain of Health, and the Fountain of Recovery. Oddly enough, despite their names, the Cleansing Fountain has the effect of a purification potion, But the Fountain of Health has the effect of a recovery potion, while the Fountain of Recovery has the effect of a health potion. You can choose to drink it straight, or you could just store it inside a bottle. This next one is pretty long. We have the loot rooms. The loot rooms has a few variations: the common loot room, the rare loot room, and the locked loot room. So loot rooms are the most common type of rooms that you can find, and they have a wide range of variations. The first variant is the common variation, which has wooden or stone tables, and this variant can have either food, raw ingredients, equipment, minerals, or ingots. The second variant is the rare variation, which has gold and purple stands. It looks high class, something like this, and the items are much higher in has a much higher quality. Rare herbs such as ice caps, ginseng, lingji mushrooms can be found. Spell books, stat potions will also spawn, and sometimes even high tier equipments. The third variation is the locked variation. Each item in this variation will be locked and cannot be taken away without a key. You can find the key on the same floor. It could be a mob drop, you could dig it up, or you could find it inside a chest. However, it is important to know that you only get one key, no matter how many items are locked. So you have to choose which item you want to get wisely. The fourth variation are the gardens, and will generally have raw food and herbs. This last room is kind of a butt. These are the trap rooms. You will usually find a steel key, rusted key, or a random item in the center of this room. And the rest of the room, however, is filled to the brim with traps, pitfalls, and guard spirits. Except for the blocks with grass growing on it, I highly suggest you crouch and try to examine each and every block. Lastly, we have some honorable mentions. I believe the developers actually removed these two rooms, but I will still include them here. So first up, we have the Piranha Room. The Piranha Room will have one piece of equipment surrounded by piranha-infested waters, specifically 3 piranhas. And the piranha is the most OP mob in the game, or that was in the game. It can tear through like level 100 players without a problem, because their attack speed is almost twice as fast as the player, and they can cause bleed and crap tons of damage. One important thing to note is that if you ever find a Piranha Room, there will always be an invisibility potion on the same floor. Our second honorable mention is the Cliff Room. This room will have a single piece of equipment, and the rest of the room will be an empty void. You'll get the prompt to either drop down a rope or jump off the cliff. I don't recommend doing either of these, because to get the equipment, you can either use a psychokinesis scroll, a levitation potion, or a teleport spell. One important thing to note is that just like the Piranha Room, if you ever come across a cliff room, there will always be a scroll of levitation nearby. I hope I covered everything. If I did miss anything, leave a comment down below, and as always, till next time.